everybody, to another amazing Wednesday show with Andrew. Yes, we love Wednesdays, and today Andrew is full of some incredible and amazing insights. As you know, we do pre-record these sessions, and sometimes it's always a bit of a challenge to see what would be going on the actual day that this show is being viewed. But Andrew, today he's on fire. He's got some stuff for you that will just get you giggling.
For a moment, I want to go to geopolitics and the good old Benjamin Netanyahu, the premier president, whatever you want to call, of Israel. His forecast is not looking very good.
Oh.
Since his visitation to the United States Congress and AIPAC, there has been a massive, massive backfire politically in his own campaign and his own internal security systems. As people know, every now and then I let it rip when it comes to what's going on behind the scenes. Old BB boy is about to get the worst of the worst of the worst of his own cultural backlash from his own auditors wanting to know where all the technical hardware they've been paying for in the black market for 20 years, it's all being disappeared out of their secret bases. And you have people that are responsible for 40, 50, $60 billion of equipment in 30, 40, 50 bases. So you're talking $1 trillion+ of disappeared material. Submarines disappeared. Just plain gone.
Is that the proverbial oops?
Oops.
Oops, sorry guys, oops.
When you make one group of people very special at things like auditing and you give them skill sets of oversight, they do what they're supposed to do, programmed by the own system to find out where somebody's charging them $900 for a toilet seat.
Oh, wow. Can you elaborate? Just where did this stuff disappear to?
Well,
what happened?
Military hardware has been disabled and disappeared for 30+ years. Mm-hmm. Ever since we had the incidents after Roswell, they would disarm nuclear weapons. Well, when Israel started trying to make neutron bombs, and they made them deep underground, and this was in the early 1960s and 70s, that's when some of their technology disappeared. Mm-hmm. They then created these bases that are called out-of-phase bases. So they're a reality bubble around them, so the off-world technology can't sense them. Mm-hmm. But the off-world psychic sensors can track them down. So they have, 40, 50, 60 million off-world psychics that are tracking these mobile aphasic bases, and they have been identified where they are, and they're able to literally teleport everything out of there.
So that's interesting. Remember that one clip that we showed where they had those beams, and you said they're teleporting
They're
stuff.
teleporting. You can see, right, even as early as in 2007, 2008, you will see numerous UFO videos from Israel, Gaza Strip, Egypt, and Turkey, where a light will come over a major building and it'll hover, and then bing, bing, a big light will just come in like a laser shot. And they are removing off-world technology or on-world technology that is mimicking off-world technology. Israel has become so expert at reverse engineering simple off-world technology and turning them into very useful human abuse weapons.
Time to take those toys away, I say.
Time to take those toys away.
Yeah, permanently.
Yeah, and the next thing is Israel also does the black market insurance on off-world technology that's traded or sold to any of the other members of the Cabal Illuminati who don't work together at all. You know, that biggest myth that we'll all come to learn, there was never a single eye at the top of the pyramid. There's tens of thousands, and each and every one of them is black and blue with a broken jaw, recovering over the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. What we see now in geopolitics and world affairs is the last attempt at propaganda's march to make us conform. Whether it's geopolitics and Republicans and Democrats and the world names on stage versus those subworld names on stage like Dragon families or Rothschilds. Each and every one of those are going to go through their own propaganda internal nightmare.
Will we get to see it?
There's an old saying, okay?
Yeah.
You know, if somebody and you have a long issue, standard issues, and if it was meant to be seen, then God would let you see it.
That's right. Karma's a bitch, and if you're lucky, God will let you watch, right?
Let you watch. So those people that are meant to watch will watch. I happen to be one of those people that has the skill to watch and observe and report back. I'm not putting negativity. You know, the United States has also had some of their very special military equipment disappear. And then we have people like, we'll call the Germans, the non-Nazi factions that have been forming their own special assault groups. And their particular talents are to use psychic skills to psychically bombard a city. So that city will go into conformity and vote for who they want.
Right.
There's an entire brigade of about 3,800 German psychic assault troops that have disappeared.
They just disappeared.
Whole
Psychic assault
brigade,
troops.
the whole brigade disappeared.
But what about their families? Or are these beings that don't really have any family?
This
They
is one
pick
of the
them
reasons why
specifically?
they're trying to crash airplanes.
I see.
There are certain personalities that once removed from our matrix, the matrix must cover up what they've done.
Yeah.
Now, many of these people have time-traveling memories inserted into them so that they could have the hierarchical power to be dominant over a city structure. So they have removed them from an end, fixed, anchored point, no longer in this reality. So what it is you have all these other realities that are now, like a freight train, coming to crash together and meet this person who was supposed to do something, supposed to fart on a Wednesday, buy tomatoes on a Thursdays, and psychically bombard a city on Friday, and he's not there. All of these plans that are suspended in time for those 3,600 different people are now coming to bear, and there's things all over the world that are suddenly going to go, hey, we're going to get exposed. The Vatican is the same scenario. They have been having some of their abuse rings just show up all over the world and in the news because the people won't take abuse anymore.
Yeah. They won't. Yeah. I mean, I've read about some of the stuff, especially what they're doing. And I think in Canada there was some stuff, and in Europe. I mean, Europe's really,
It's
really
been going
bad.
on for many years.
Yeah.
And in fact, hundreds of years have the priest class abuse. Not just in Christianity, every priest class in every religion is as corrupt as everyone else.
But that was a setup, really, when we had the magic, and then they tried to take our magic away, and they turned it into darkness. So only dark magic was then practiced, and the light magic was forbidden. Remember the Inquisition and all of those
It
things?
was more like the light magic wasn't taught because the dark magic was being taught everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, that white magic was forbidden, and all they did, and part of that was using the innocence, that blood of the innocence of specific
Blood of the
DNA
innocents,
lineages.
blood of the virgin, so on,
Yes.
and all that myth power that they put into cauldrons of magic.
So they use specific DNA lineages for magic. They use other specific DNA lineages. For example, this is a special lineage. We've used souls with the suit before. It's got DNA memories, and those are the ones that they capture and then try to make super soldiers or specific
Correct.
people that they will then breed and train to become, for example, a president.
Correct? Like
Right.
Barack Obama. Trained to be a
Yeah.
president from a very young age. Does that mean that gentleman has had free will? Depends what perspective you're coming from. Every single thing is perspective. One person in Turkey will look at Barack Obama and see him one way. A person in the United States, southern United States, will see another way. A person in Hawaii or Japan, each will have an individual view based off of what propaganda has been impressed in them, with what cultural filters say, yes, vote for him, no, don't for him, because everything is the equation, vote, don't vote. When
Belief
it
and
comes to that
perception,
imagery of that projection of power of that president in the seat of hierarchical authority.
Yeah, it's the belief and the perception. I remember quite a while ago when they were starting up a war, I think it was on Times Magazine, and they just basically had a picture of a desert and a hill and a few shrubs, and they had, then you were looking at it through the eye of when you would have a gun. And the perception was very interesting because there was a soldier on the other side of the camera, and there was a, you know, and then the camera was holding the soldier that was holding the gun. And it was the perception of it all. How would you feel if you're the mother of the soldier? And how would you feel if you're the mother of that soldier? It's the same kind of concept.
Same concept.
Belief and perception, and the
Belief.
connection that they have to that accordingly will gauge their reaction.
There has never been a war in our history that has ever benefited our race.
War doesn't benefit anything.
Doesn't.
It is created so that they can live off the misery and the pain and make money.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is the true Babylonian business plan put at the most hierarchical structure of abuse.
And you know, these guys, like you're talking about Netanyahu, you came in here really bouncy, you're like, did I see something? And you know, being an observer and having to bear witness, I know that with your skill, there's a mission, there's a dedication that you have that you cannot not observe specific things. And sometimes, like, you have to go and you have to observe what they're doing in this world. And I know sometimes you just sit there and you've got these tears running down your eyes because you're bearing witness to something that's just so horrific. But then on the other hand, you also see what's
the
going
other
to
side
yeah.
and what that cause and effect is for that moment in fraud time with abuse of no time beings.
Yeah.
So when I get put in a situation where I have to see what's going out in the Speaker Saves program, a couple days ago, I watched 40 million people die in a sacred neutral perspective, and I couldn't stop crying for days.
I know.
But I also understood that that action that was done has created a super reactionary storm that is now bearing whole new layers of witnesses of the universe here.
Oh yeah, this shit has hit the proverbial solar fan, if you want to call it that way. I mean, what these guys pulled off and what I was allowed to see through Andrew's eyes, you can't do something like that and think you're going to get away with it. Just you wait. It's coming.
Just you wait, it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
So people like Bibi, you guys have some very bad press coming to you, and I've got popcorn ready.
What kind? With the butter or with the salt?
Butter and garlic.
Garlic.
Yeah,
Garlic
salt.
popcorn. Ooh, I like that. Garlic popcorn. How about a little bit of white truffle oil on top? That
There
also
we go,
makes it.
exactly.
There you go. I don't know about that with the garlic, but food alchemy, yes.
That's
We're
right.
going to actually make something on food alchemy again. We're going to increase it because with all the different countries that we bear witness to and all the different people that Andrew engages and that we have here on our website, there are some amazing recipes out there that we've been given that we would like to film and share and have people share, excuse me, and have people share in that feast. I really think that would be something that we get a dish, a cultural dish from all of the different worlds. And another thing that we wanted to do was to start talking about the different countries and their cultures and the alchemical aspects. So that once again we become, instead of a district, which is a country, okay, we become again global.
Just a couple days ago, I was going past a TV show, watching, I haven't watched in a long time, Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations.
Oh, yes.
And in this episode, it was he was in Romagna in Italy, and I think it was season 8 for those that want to go and look at it. He went to this ancient place that they made balsamic vinegar, the most intensive, high-quality balsamic vinegar you have ever seen. And this stuff is ancient, 200 years old or 150 years old, and it was started by the great-great-grandmother. And for every male son that was born in the family, a new starter barrel of this very expensive, exquisite balsamic vinegar was made. And it would go from one barrel to another, to another, to another, being reduced to this ultra-fine thickness.
And but the key was on that one is that ancient barrel, every single barrel had
the same starter.
Yes, had the same starter. It's like they've got this magic little thing of stuff that's so ancient, and each one over the centuries, just from this basis, they take that, and that they put into the new barrel for that son. And it's something so exquisite when you were so amazed by this.
Like,
you said
right
you got
there,
to sit
DNA
and watch
lineage
this.
technology.
There you go. It was amazing.
That child who may have died the year before and born back into the family now has something, his signature frequency made, touching his tongue at birth.
Trigger, memory, come back. There you go. Remember again.
Remember again. That is an example of how DNA technology has survived. The immortal technology has survived.
Yeah.
As simple as balsamic vinegar and some barrels.
How many recipes have we got that we know that are so ancient? And when we get the ingredients and we make it just right, there's an alchemical frequency, and
right.
that's been hidden in the families, kept secret for years, because what
right.
does it do for that specific DNA lineage and for others if it's created in that aspect? You can heal so much.
Like the amount of families that make prosciutto in a special way
Oh,
that
yes.
melts in your mouth. I have even heard of people applying prosciutto to burn wounds to assist them, because it's that powerful of alchemy when you cure the meat with a white understanding and a good, powerful spiritual ritual of healing.
Incredible. And then when they hold the pieces up and
Yeah.
they're so
And you can
thin, they're
see through 'em.
translucent, you know, and you put this in your mouth. And I mean, okay, now you're making me hungry.
As we pop up a food shot.
But you know, we've also got a reading scheduled today with
Yes,
Eric, and
a
this
very
is
special one.
This is a void stream being, and he's something quite spectacular. And you know, one of his questions I really liked, it was about beer, sex, and pizza. And you'll see that also as the title for this show, Beer, Sex, and Pizza, because, you know, when I heard this aspect and I was writing the notes and we were looking into it, I cracked up. Here's a void stream being, and you guys will start to understand and grasp what that means to be a void stream being. It's something quite authentic and quite special and quite rare. So I really hope you guys enjoy this reading.
Yeah.
And Andrew, is there anything else you want to say before we get into Eric from Kansas?
What I want to say is Eric is a long-time listener, has been around since the beginning, and you'll hear this in the reading. And it was a unique opportunity for me to ask some questions from someone that's been around from the longer perspective. And I was able to up the amount of English I was imparting to this world and to Eric the individual and everyone else there. And this is where we connect to what's known as a void stream. I'll take you through the process of what got him to being in the void stream and getting out and how that affects him now.
Yeah.
There is a space in between all of the universes called void space. At the end of the ascension here on Earth, all of those beings that are still in domination and control and not accepting the change in universal laws that ancestral karma is no longer a law this universe uses, they will all be deported to the void space. And they will wait there until a new universe is formed, or they come together as a collective and form a universe inside the void space.
And yeah, I think once...
And there's trillions of beings who will be deported from our universe, not just here on
I'm
Earth,
sure.
they'll spread all over.
I'm sure.
Because they've done it all. And they got to the point where all they had left was to poke Great Spirit and Great Creator in the eye. That's it. That's all they're doing. We're done. There's nothing left to do. And we're going to annoy the shit out of you like a kid in the back car screaming until you pull over and tell them to get out.
Yeah, so true, so true. And I think when the listeners hear this reading, and I know we'll get to it soon, but I think when the listeners hear this reading, there is a depth of understanding that Andrew brings. Again, he does that with every reading, but with this one, there's a depth of understanding that Andrew brings that just really, I believe, expands and widens the understandings even more. You know, it's another layer, another understanding, another expansion, and another gift again of that wisdom, of that remembering of how incredible we truly are.
All right, guys, we're going to show you the reading now. And when we're done, we're going to come back with some follow-up and give you some more special material.
Oh, yes. Can't wait.
Hota yatata hacha, kamupa yita, hochana, kachawata, shimonata, jekota, imananaka, wacha cha chamata, chikana hoch, chana, shimonaka, autika, shomohotoka, chawanati, cheko, chanatu, ashna, uki, yeteta, chumahata, ismana, chamoka, hatachimo, winjinahacha, chawina, chinahachawata, shawakia, ush, ata, ush, yete, ho, yayaka chamo, kamja, shamoda, sheta, hatu, katomachehecha, che motecheki, nanaku, chanakawata, chakawa, chiteha, shashiyana, wa, yikecha, washna, momata, yanata. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Adventures into Reality. We are joined... I don't like that beginning. All right, hold on. All right, let me think. How did I do the other beginning? Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Adventures into Reality. We are joined by our caller, Eric. Eric, where are you calling from today?
Calling from Lawrence, Kansas.
Lawrence, Kansas. So what from you in Lawrence, Kansas? How did the Galactic Historian find you?
Man, I think it was, I was listening to Rob Potter at the end of 2012, and he did an interview on Wolf Spirit with Dale on Dave After Dark, and you were a guest there. You popped in after 2 hours, and you know, the things you were saying, the frequency that you were talking with, it flipped my thinking, and it was pretty much, I was hooked after that. I followed you to the Walking in Energy stuff with Chris Hales and the Shattering the Matrix interview with Ari, and listening to Laura Eisenhower at the time, so I caught your Awake in the Dream radio interview and the Galactic History with Lance White, and just been devouring everything I can get my hands on.
Oh, so you were around in the old West days of Wolf Spirit Radio, where I would come on and randomly do 13-hour radio shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the old West days where like Rob's a really good friend, and I love doing interviews with him. And we did a series of interviews with Bernie Mendez and I don't know, a bunch of those other time traveler guys, and we really had a lot of fun in March and April in 2013. So you've heard me do readings, you pretty much know the material. You have the Akashic record of this world and 20,000 other worlds open to you. What questions do you have?
Well, I've probably got 2 hours of questions, but I was hoping we could start today with kind of old-fashioned, do a stream read for Lawrence, Kansas, this town, and just jump into me, you know, paint my soul's trajectory across the dimensions and time streams, and let me know what you see.
Awesome. I love it that you came up with the old-fashioned stream read. All right. So this is directed to Lawrence, Kansas, to Eric and all of those that are in his 1 degree of separation. Welcome to this moment of infinity, when infinity is an understanding of the shaman's death at hand. The shaman's death at hand is to let go of the past, present, and future, and to just be one inside your own shell of a soul, and understand that you are a reflection of many other versions of light, here in the now, ready to experience the now. In the now comes the term sovereignty, and sovereignty is a form of spiritual technology that must be understood with tactile understanding. In the tactile understanding, we return to the cradle board of life, where we honor the 7 future generations who are not in tactile feeling yet. By honoring them, by giving them space, when we have our tactile feeling of love and all of those other wonderful things that come with it, we get a whole new layer to our experience. We get connected to our tactile ancestors, and we have visitations from in the past where we lived with them or did sacred ceremonies with them, and they come to us with photonic light that is DNA memories, memories that we don't even remember that we have, and just by them reminding us of it, we get to unpack the cipher of what those memories are. So being offered to you and everyone in Lawrence, Kansas, are memories and memories from ancient shamans past. On every hill and every dale in every part of the land, there has been a fire by a shaman over the last 1,000,000 years. And each and every one of those fires still is alive today. And you just simply must acknowledge it and understand that it's waiting to offer you, your own reflection of yourself, so that the shaman's death is letting go of the system of the old, so the new system of the now, connected to the land, is what you are, not the reflection of the past who has lived in the ceremonial fires before, but you creating the ceremonial fire of now, being unified in every form. Look to the sky and understand that the smoke that you create with the fires changes that world. Those smoke beings are your elementals of prayer that go to the great mystery and to the great universe and help us talk to our star brothers and sisters. So create great clouds of smoke and reprogram those skies so our brothers and sisters can appear in your smoke pillars. Because now is the time to light the fires of passion and spontaneity all over the universe. That's what I got for Lawrence, Kansas.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, just jumping into me, what do you see? What do you see in my soul's trajectory, my soul family, things like this?
Right now, I'm pulling out. I'm doing something different now. What I'm doing is I'm separating all of your Akashic frequencies in the video here, and I'm aligning when you first came to Earth, why you immigrated to Earth. And this is going to help me understand why you are in like 300 different soul families currently. So all these on this side are ones with family crests. All this one on that side are ancestral karma separate. All this on this side, I don't know yet. So this, that's World War II. That's World War I. That's, I don't know. All right. So I'm looking at everything that I'm trying to understand now. The soul frequency that is you, who came here to Earth, we're going to call this 19 million fraud years ago. 19 million fraud years ago, you came in during the second fall of Lemuria, where we were having the actual second uncreational event. And this uncreational event was different than the first one because it did not originate from Earth. Earth was the first originator of the first uncreational event. Once people realized that they can do it, they started doing it in other places. The second uncreational event is a representation of 80 or 100 different planets that did it, and they simultaneously all created an uncreational event. You've immigrated from one of those 80 worlds that caused the second migration event so that you can unentangle your own species by coming to Earth, who had learned how to resolve all the karma they created by their timeline genocide. So you didn't just come from one, you were an amalgamation of all 80 that were locked outside of time in void space without an I am presence. Do you understand that?
Somewhat.
When you came to Lemuria during the second fall is where you incarnated into a DNA skin suit that had memories that were not yours. Do you understand?
How are those memories affecting me now?
A lot, because you directly immigrated from void space, meaning your expression of photonic light is not fully present in your body right now. You haven't, how do I just say this, acknowledged that the second uncreational event had a creational event attached to it. You came back into another paradox. So this is an understanding that the higher frequency beings knew that after there was a second uncreational event, there was going to be a third and there was going to be a fourth. So what they did is they migrated you to the third and the fourth. And this is literally your first time experiencing in this simultaneous experience what the first timeline genocide on Earth is. So you are on your own separate hairball with soul shards spread around 80 planets, while your master soul shard here is on Earth, going through the very first expression of what it takes to bring all karma to end for an uncreational event. So just by being here on Earth is accomplishing that task in unknowingness. That's what I don't see this often. It's like you're not just resistance free Earth, because you are that, but you are also like resistance free void space that says we can create in void space. It is another higher expression of freedom that is coming here without light body program. Like you intentionally went into the void space to create a culture in void space separate of these universal rules and create I am presence technology as birthing. So you came out of void space as energy beings and you gained an I am presence that had no light body memories of void space. You understand that?
So how does that play into my current? I was conceived via IVF. I was, a donor sperm from I don't know. My mom.
I know, because you're a time traveler. It is the nature of someone that's traveling with I am presence technology that's anchored in a void space. It's the best way, because that void space is its own micro bubble of a universe inside a paradox. So you are what I call void space source stream. That means you are in a place without an I am presence, without an ego, that is fully interacting with the Akashic record of this world in unobserver entanglement technology as a soul, creating wisdom of complete universal freedom here on Earth. So how does this apply now? You are pregnant with creation when it comes to whole new ways to describe freedom. Beyond what this matrix says, beyond what the ascension says, you could come up with ideas that would blow mine away if you should begin to engage that void space, non-I am presence version of yourself and upload your I am presence there, because that was your original purpose, to learn what it took to resolve karma here in DNA skin suit technology as a fresh I am presence, and then to upload it to the void space so every other being in void space has all of the lessons that have been here on Earth, and they can birth their I am presence back into their own paradox realities that where they created their second uncreational event and then end that uncreational event with the wisdom you uploaded to them in void space without violating universal law. That's a huge soul, that's a huge soul purpose. And your next question is, how can I do anything with it? Unfortunately, you're at a point of belief and how special you are. You're at a point of belief and have I earned that right? And the irony of the hissing in the call comes at that moment where we could begin to acknowledge a whole lot of stuff. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we're getting a whole bunch of static here from you from now. It's really interesting.
Are there any sacred sites that I can visit? Are there any places that are going to help me, sort out my memories from?
Yes. Right now, hold on. We're getting a whole lot of static from your call.
Okay.
Just a second here. Let me see what I can do to clear it up. This is... Just a second. I think we're going to have to reset the call.
There's another line you can call me on that might be a little bit better. I would suggest.
All right, Kat, we're going to have to reset the call. I'm getting a whole bunch of static from him.
No problem.
Do you want that number?
Yes, please tell me the number.
It's 913-636.
Yes.
4266.
4236. Ready?
Yep.
It's interesting how it came in when I was trying to tell him.
No, obviously it's
Yeah.
nothing coincidental. It's we're still rolling. I'm not
Okay.
stopping this.
We are on the Galactic Asturian Circus Extreme as we are waiting for a caller to return. As we had a whole bunch of static that had come right at a moment where I was trying to help him understand what was going on. So,
Hello?
there you are, Eric, with
Hello.
no static in your voice now.
No static. Outstanding.
It's really interesting how that static literally came at a moment where I was trying to help you understand what you can do with this in the now.
I can't tell you how often that happens to me.
Well, you know what? That is an example of how powerful our belief systems are. So one of the issues that you've got going forward here is there's some programming you have from your mother and father. And this programming is like a poltergeist effect. When you get to a point of too much expression, too much joy, too much happiness, too much magic, you channel in your mother's energy, and it's like disciplining your energy body and not allowing it to go any farther. And these poltergeist manifestations are exactly like the line suddenly creating static for no apparent reason whatsoever, because however your parents raised you, there was such a limitation to your pure spiritual uniqueness that they had to brand you as unfit for the system and make sure that the system is always watching you through their watchers. Do you understand that?
I get that.
All
Yeah,
right.
I do.
So now it's a time to understand you can still love your mother and father, because in unawareness is why that's happening. They're not doing it on purpose. It is in their DNA lineage. They cannot help it. But now you can begin to break contracts, vows, and agreements with them specifically about when it's dealing with the system of domination and control that is creating this effect where your belief systems suddenly create what? Poltergeist effects. You can turn that energy into something else where the flowers will grow very fast from it. Or the outside grass that you have, you may have to cut it, every 6 days instead of every 8 days. You don't want that poltergeist effect to take over your life anymore. You need to transform it into growth energy, and therefore it cannot hinder you anymore.
I see.
Okay. Would you be willing to do some I am presence work? Just kind of repeating after me. I can help you work out some of this.
Definitely.
All right, so just repeat after me. I, in the ever-present moment,
I, in the ever-present moment,
choose to open a spiritual cord of equity.
choose to open a spiritual cord of equity.
I summon all of my DNA lineage ancestors
I summon all of my DNA lineage ancestors
who are aligned with unity consciousness.
who are aligned with unity consciousness.
I summon all of my brothers and sisters of all star races
I summon all of my brothers and sisters from all star races
to hold space in the spiritual cord of equity
hold space in the spiritual cord of equity
in a sacred neutral format
in a sacred neutral format.
to bear witness to my sovereign expression.
Bear witness to my sovereign expression.
This I am presence of now
This I am presence of now.
discovers myself,
Discovers myself.
all of the memories I do not remember.
All of the memories I do not remember.
I share them with every ancestor in sacred neutral presence,
I share them with every ancestor in sacred neutral presence,
so they may be the filter
so they may be the filter
of authentic truth or false light.
of authentic truth or false light.
That which comes to me is authentic truth.
That which comes to me is authentic truth.
Anything that is false light
Anything that is false light
is suspended in this spiritual cord of equity,
is suspended in the spiritual cord of equity.
and all false light beings are exposed to all ancestors
And all false light beings ancestors.
I summon the side of myself that lives in void space,
I summon the side of myself that lives in void space,
that does not have I am presence availability.
that does not have I am presence availability.
I offer it to you in this moment of unity,
I offer it to you in this moment of unity,
so you may be an unentangled, sacred, neutral witness.
you may be an unentangled, sacred, neutral witness
In my spiritual court of equity,
in my spiritual court of equity.
I summon all of the planetary ancestors I have lived on,
I summon all of the planetary ancestors I have lived on
in this entire universe.
in this entire universe.
I bring you now to this moment of I am presence,
I bring them now to this moment of I am present,
and I share with you my pure and total light frequency.
and I share with you my pure and light, total light frequency.
Every soul code that I have had,
Every soul code that I've had,
every soul code I have ever encountered,
every soul code I have ever encountered,
so there will no longer be secrets in unity.
so that there will no longer be secrets in unity.
I bring myself back to universal immigration status,
I bring myself back to universal immigration status,
and I bring this spiritual court of equity to the very moment I decided to immigrate to this universe.
and I bring the spiritual court of equity to the very moment that I decided to incarnate in this universe.
I blend those two expressions of universal time into one.
I blend those two expressions of universal time into one.
I summon an extra universal spiritual court of equity,
I summon an extra spiritual court of equity,
extra universal,
extra universal spiritual court of equity,
with all of my other universal ancestors in unity presence.
with all of my universal ancestors in unity presence.
I become one with all spiritual courts of equity.
I become one with all spiritual courts of equity.
I now come to this fraud time on earth
I now come to this broad time on earth
with all ancestral beings in this spiritual court of equity.
all ancestral beings in the spiritual court of equity.
A trillion eyes looking out my aura,
A trillion eyes looking out my aura,
waiting to experience the tactile here.
waiting to experience the tactile here.
We are all pregnant with creation,
We're all pregnant with creation.
and now it is time to change the surface of earth
Now it is time to change the surface of earth
and exchange ancestors at the universal level,
and exchange ancestors at the universal level,
so all uncreational events come to an end,
so all uncreational events come to an end,
and a seamless stream of consciousness continues.
and a seamless stream of consciousness continues.
And so be it.
And so be it.
I needed to take you to those universal scales so you could begin to understand that that's the scale your spirit's working at. It's important that you go back and listen to this and figure out a way to bring yourself into the local spiritual court of equity with your local unity ancestors, and then go higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, and then manifest this court in your body now. And that's how you anchor your source stream into that who's who you are now. And this is the transformation that you're looking for. This is the big answer, is how do you take all of that infinite thing that has lived in two universe and manifest it here now to speak in English what the big changes are. You're a source stream. You can do anything. You have void space energy connected to you. It's a matter of what level of production are you able to manifest around you? What level of form and format do you want to interact with? This makes jobs seem trivial, doesn't it?
Totally.
Unfortunately, you're at that point. And I say unfortunately because you're going to have very hard choices. The matrix is going to try to attach and attach and attach and attach servitude to you. And as long as servitude is in you, you aren't going to go to those higher levels without doing intense ceremonies that are self-centric, self-oriented around contract revocation, in which you write in your own words. What I've come up with is just the beginning expression for what you're going to need. You're going to need to do is just as much invocation, where you say your intentions to all ancestors that are present in the similar format that I did, fluidly, without the need of always writing it. Because by doing that, you are manifest incarnate through the voice that's creating photonic light. That's your purpose. You could be whistling photonic light and still change this area. You are pregnant with the ancestors of other places who are here to resolve karma. You have been a cipher being, meaning you have a lock, you have the code to tens of thousands of other worlds that you can bring here. That's why I had you show all of your soul codes to all ancestors present so they understood you weren't a false light being holding secrets. You were sharing all photonic light as part of universal law. Something had tried to label you to ancestors as false light, and only a very few of them were hoodwinked by false light beings. By bringing all of the universal ancestors to bear, so all of them bear witness to who the original false light was, that false light can no longer contact any of the universes and use the abuse of the creational event after an uncreational event. Because there are predators on both sides of the events. And some of them were planetary consciousnesses that needed to be exposed. That's why all planetary consciousnesses you ever existed on became part of that sacred neutral witness. So other planetary consciousnesses that are false light beings could be exposed to your ancestors. So your soul family has a roadmap of these are good, these are bad. That's what you just did. You uploaded a tremendous healing to them. I just assisted you with the linguistics in English. That was a final equation that you can now go, this linguistical equation, I can amplify it 1,000,000-fold if I can put my focus into it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So what other kind of questions do you have?
Well, I've got a few. If you just want to do a little rapid fire based on things I've heard you say in the past.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I've got personal questions for me, but I want this to be a teaching for the community too. So, really
so just let's go with the rapid fire questions about the material, because we're a little over time.
Okay,
I'll just
so
limit.
You mentioned scrying as being remote influencing on steroids. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, because you're programming water in a crystal or metal or wood bowl that has ceremonial programming as well as other intentional programming behind it. So that can influence the water that's being forced into somebody else's water, because water can cross dimensions if you know how to use ice and steam.
Okay. David Politis, are you familiar with this missing 411 work? All of the missing people up, particularly in your neck of the woods, people just mysteriously go missing.
From all the national parks?
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
that is part of an organized abduction ring that is feeding the system of domination and control and the cabal sacrificial lambs. Or people that have DNA skin suits that are tradable off-world, or they get pulled into programs, because that is where regularly people go to vacation or to go and experience those areas, and they can set up teams because they have been watching them previously from their birth when they were identified by blood types. Next.
Pizza beer, as a fellow lover of pizza beer and sex, what I heard you talk about heavy metals and flour, stuff like that. How do we work with that? How do we still eat pizza and these delicious things that are incredible foods and work around some of that stuff?
Well, we need to be able to make flour that's natural, that isn't bleached, that isn't have 40 layers of metal shavings put over it because it's gone through a metal thrasher, a metal packer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to have a much more natural way of doing that. So can you still enjoy beer, pizza, and recreational sex? Yes, it's about creating of out loud vocal influence and prayer. So when you're having that beer, you are taking the system's energy out of it and putting your own creational energy into it, and still understanding as you're taking that food, and the body will be the resolution of the final paradox as you crap it out or piss it out. So it's taking regular care of the body. You can have that stuff in equal balance, because if you're not in equal balance, it's going to do what it's supposed to do, put you in over hormonal, over carbs, unable to process it without a proper sexual drive. And that's the nature of beer, pizza, and sex. It's the grid, it's the big trireme of getting yourself all screwed up. But it's really fun to have them, isn't it? And then they gave us chicken wings. Jeez. Alrighty, this has been really good. We got to end it there. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Oh, wow. That was an incredible reading. You know, Eric, you can see when you have people like Eric, they've been long-time listeners. And at the end, when he did the rapid fire, Andrew, you know, after you said what you said before the reading, I just got to ask you something. I'll give you a rapid fire. Where did all Netanyahu's shit go? Like submarines that you said were missing. I mean, where?
Well, there's no way to fact check this, but when the submarines started disappearing, those that were teleporting them off of the places that they were, they needed to put it somewhere that was very obvious. So they put a very expensive, multi-billion-dollar Israeli nuclear submarine and all of its crew in the South Sudan desert. And that was his warning.
In the desert?
In the desert, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the ocean.
So is this resistance-free Earth outside our realm
this was
that's
a
doing it?
very
or?
pissed off commander of a sphere ship that went against orders of other sphere ships and did a direct reality incursion and said, I will put your submarines in the desert and see what your propaganda news does for that.
I wonder if we can see that on like Google Earth or something, if we'd be able to find it, or is it actually in the sand? I mean,
Well, it's been covered up.
it's been covered up.
I mean, they can't move it. So, and this isn't the first time a metallic warship has ended up on land.
That's true. Yes.
Deep inside where it should never have been. It's not the first time that some other off-world being got pissed off of what was going on here
Right.
and said, hey, let's see how your news deals with this.
So,
How your system deals with something that challenging of a reality. 450-foot ballistic missile nuclear submarine,
yeah, wow.
300 miles inland in a desert.
So that reminds me, you know how you get, do you remember the movie Men in Black?
Oh, yeah.
And they always say you read those gossip magazines because in those gossip magazines they always
So
have
much truth.
There's all that stuff about aliens and stuff. I remember reading about a year or 2 years ago, and we'll get to Eric's reading in a second, but this is fun. I remember reading that there was a picture, and you actually saw the picture of a guy who was found in the Himalayan mountains, and he looked like he was actually in a sun deck chair with his drink in the Bahamas. And they actually found him on the mountain, like in a place that you normally could not access, let alone with that kind of gear. He had his swim shorts on, he still had his drink, and he was in kind of like a beach chair, absolutely frozen. They actually showed pictures of it. What was that?
Well, when you have things like that show up, it is a ultimate challenge to a reality.
Okay.
And you have a reporter that tries to figure out, how do I sell this in a hierarchical order with a system that's constantly trying to cover it up. You have situations like the Men in Black who are trying to cover information up, erase memories, and sometimes alter memories and stories so it ends up a frozen guy in the Himalayas in a beach chair.
Yeah.
Because they have no better story to create. 50 years of advanced lies with an advanced news agency on them begins to turn out like Hollywood. Every story's the same. How often are you really surprised about movies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so predictable.
How often
yeah.
are we disappointed by movies?
Yeah.
And I will say the movie Interstellar.
Yeah.
Nothing but imprinting. And when they, this is a spoiler if you don't want the spoiler, when the other guy attacked the other guy, we all knew it was coming. And the movie was ruined. No matter what they tried to tell us about fifth dimensional entities in spherical wormholes. Great science, crappy movie, crappy way of teaching, because they're just trying to imprint you that the Earth will never survive.
That's right. They want you off
And
this
man
planet.
will fight man at all
Yeah,
times.
yeah. And you see, this is the funny thing. And they're actually succeeding with a lot of the people who are sensitives. They can't wait to leave this planet, etc., etc. Guys, when you're feeling that way, that's because the system's actually imprinted this on you. They want you off this planet. This planet is the
Right.
emerald of our universe. She's something amazing. And of course, they want everybody off this planet. Why? Because they want this planet. This planet is amazing technology. It has futures that haven't even been created yet.
So everyone take the spiritual for sale sign out of your crown chakra.
That's a good way of putting it.
Not for rent, not for occupancy, no vacancies in your crown chakra.
Yeah, you cannot feed
You
off
cannot
me.
feed off me.
You cannot control me. I am not your puppet. I am not your toy.
That's right.
That's right.
The time is now and the power is you.
I thought you were going to say the power is meow.
It's always the power in the meow.
The power of meow.
The power of meow.
Perfect, perfect. So
Eckhart Tolle, eat your heart out.
I like Eckhart Tolle.
He's a
I
good
think
guy.
he's great. I remember seeing him when he first came out, and I was in Asia at the time. And just being in his presence and listening to his story, I totally understood where he was coming from. I knew that feeling that he described when that moment of now, and when he was so badly beaten by his father, and how he discovered the power of the moment of now when he used to wake up. And for 1 minute, when he woke up just before, that being aware of your body, and for that one moment, everything was all right. And then like a force of bricks, boom,
You're back in your
everything
body.
crashed down on him. And then he felt his real body and the beatings and the pain and the situation he was in and the darkness and the cold of it all. And to then always go back to that moment, to figure out the power of that moment of now. And you talk about it a lot as well. Being in that presence, how would you best describe for people to get into that moment?
When you're awakening, it's about how much conscious application you can actually do. To put a zipper up is not exactly the most hardest conscious effect, but to make a word out of your voice right as you're waking up, or an internal dialogue that says, I am in the now, I am an infinite being, in a physical body that is made of my photonic light. I chose to share this reality with a mother and father in a DNA lineage that gives me the potential of immortality with a seamless conscious exchange from one soul to the next, from one body to the next, to the next, to the next. And that this technology of I am goes on every dimension, time stream, galaxy, and universe that this photonic being is existing on. So in the now is connected quantumly and through the quanta of all interaction. You are the implicate order. And once you understand you're the implicate order inside your own self, in a hierarchical order external, you can create your own wisdom of now, that infinite wisdom that the system cannot instantly value because it knows all of your potentials.
That's right. And that reminds me for the younger crowd out there, when Neo all of a sudden says, no.
The bullets
Stop.
just stop.
He came and he understood, and he came to that moment, like you said, that you're the leader of this whole thing. He just turned around and said, no.
No. He didn't send the bullets back.
No, he just made
Stopped
it all
them.
stop. Stop. And that's the time out sometimes that we talk about when we just say,
Just
you know
say
what?
stop.
Stop. Time out. We're stopping for this moment.
You have that inherent right granted to you by the creator of this universe to say stop.
Very powerful.
You are entitled to that.
Yeah.
Start using it.
And then we have beings like Eric. And you said you took quite a risk using the term void stream being. This was the first time you've actually...
reading the Akashic record of a void space.
Yeah.
That was my... oh well, it's out. There's always something going, no, don't talk about that in the background, metaphorically.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So,
that was a clear broke the rules.
So,
well.
you know, you've heard the reading now, and it is really, really impactful. I mean, here we have a void stream being who's got all the codes of all the other planets, and he's bringing these codes here to Earth.
As a time traveler.
As a time traveler that came through IVF. I mean, just contemplate that, guys. We have got some incredible beings on our planet. They're all around us. The magic is there. I mean, and then he comes up with, you know, the beer, sex, and pizza thing. I mean, that was just incredible. We've just done like the deepest realms of the void in the universe and rapid fire beer, sex, and pizza, because really, it is about the experience for us.
It's always about this experience.
We're here to free ourselves and free our planet and our universe, but at the moment, in the meantime, we're also here for the experience.
I must interject a second. For all those vegetarians out there, instead of beer, sex, and pizza, granola, almond milk, and kale.
I have to ask my guys. I got a lot of my people here are vegetarian, and it was quite funny because one of our guys invited them over for dinner, and he bought steaks and ribs and sausages,
And they're all vegetarian.
and they actually, but they're so used to it. They came like with their own stuff, and he, you know, and he was mortified because he forgot to ask.
Yeah.
It's a standard thing, but sometimes you're like, oh, I'll make them this beautiful feast, and we'll have this, you know, gorgeous meat that's all been grown by him himself, right? It wasn't as if he went to the store.
Yeah.
This was all his supply of the animals that he had grown, and yeah, that was really funny. So yeah, thank you for including the vegetarians.
So when it comes to the metaphor of beer, pizza, and sex, it's how they trap us in the experience.
yeah,
And the metaphor is, well, beer has things that go into the construction of beer, the sale of beer, the consumption of beer, the aristocracy that's around it. When it comes to pizza, it's the power of bread, the creation
Yeah.
of a sauce that's not necessarily red, and any topping you want to put on it, put into the technology of an oven supported by a fire or gas or heat that is ultimately going to be displayed and eaten. There's so much technology behind beer and pizza. And then we come to sex, which is a whole different way of using this sacred human instrument.
you were talking about that before. Recreational sex and sacred sex, recreational saging, sacred saging, everything. It's the intent that you put behind it. really.
Conscious application of the sacred. Intent is one thing and can only define so much. But when you come with a conscious application of the sacred, it started with a plan and agenda and has an ending to it.
Strategy.
Strategy. That's what conscious application of the sacred. You bring the power of now in that moment of now so that an agenda is done in the now, so that it feeds all of the other beings not in the now.
That's beautiful. That's beautifully said. And I know you guys noticed it, but did you notice that when Andrew was really getting into it, the static? It has just such a classic, and we really endeavor to give you really good quality, but sometimes
You
and
cannot battle the gremlins. It is some amount of, how do I put it, static and interference.
Did you see that our screen just went
Yeah, I
out?
saw that too. The poltergeist energy.
And when he was giving the rapid fire, he was also asking about those missing people. Remember all those missing people in the national forest? And you just said that was something that was preordained, that they'd been watched and they just got removed because otherwise they would have changed an effect in our reality at this moment in time?
It is a organization of people that work within Black projects to kidnap people with that specific purpose in mind. The big major parks are the place that advertising says go and visit. And if they
Right.
know your mailbox and they know your habits through the Big Brother things, they can have a person that's stationed anywhere in those national parks that knows you're going to be there in 2-3 weeks
Right.
and can plan for it. Because ultimately it is about the DNA trade. And it's about doing it and not getting caught.
Yeah, that's the trick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doing it and not getting caught.
Where do you think all those those children on the milk side backs of the milk the jugs came from?
So
If there wasn't an organized group that protected by the government, all of these children would be found.
they would be found.
Period. Every single one would be found. Big Brother's that good.
We will take care of those souls and we will find these children and we will make sure that everything gets rectified. We can do that as a race. We will do this.
Or we'll put one of your aircraft carriers on the front lawn of the White House.
This will be taken care of. Enough's enough. Enough's enough, guys. Okay. I'm going to get onto some of the other things in the reading. Isn't that interesting how we keep going like this? I made a bunch of notes. I'm just going to bring these notes out because this reading was just so full of things. So let me just see what I also had on the notes here for you. And we talked about the programming from parents. And you were talking about how that programming affects us and how we can actually do revocation contracts to shift and transform the energy that might have been taken from us through this programming and use that then for our growth.
Every person born into this world gets imprinting and programming from their parenting, both you and me and everyone out there. You first must come to a neutral understanding. Your parents did not consciously intend to do this. It is the way they were taught, and their parents were taught before. And our process of reprogramming the imprinted energy on us, so we do not start with a concept that is in adrenal gland conforming.
Right.
Because that's what this imprinting is trying to do at the most basic level. Conform to time, conform to hierarchical order. That's the distilled expression of what every single person has gone through. Because at birth, your parents say, when you get older, you'll be this. And then you discover about death and all those other things in reality that are very misleading to a child that's growing up. And there isn't a structure in our society or a network in our society that catches the special children and puts them into special places so they can be special people.
Right.
That doesn't exist in our world. We call them universities, but they're still hierarchical universities where you could have a person in the inner city, the only way that they'll go get out is play football or basketball, but they'll never be the scientist that they wanted to be. They'll never be the poet that they wanted to be.
Yeah. And that's so true. I mean, I had this discussion the other day with some of our friends, and one of our friends, he has this area or this place where the indigo children can go. It's a sanctuary. And these beings are incredible beings with amazing talent, but their parents never really understood them. And
many of them are beaten up and broken.
Yeah.
Not necessarily abused, but psychically, they don't have all of their skill sets in order. They don't know how to use all of their skills.
Yeah.
And this is an example with Eric. He got imprinted at a really early age that ultimately he needed to come up with some other versions of contract revocations, which I said in there, that helped him go through a better understanding that the imprintation at its most core essence was affecting the light body in the little baby that was growing up.
Yeah.
Those first 4 years is where the impressing takes place. And that's where you can use your ancient, present, now self to visualize yourself in the past in one of your own memories and bring your ancient, present love to that being in self-connection and say, at year 10, I did this. Year 11, I did this. This was my first girlfriend. This was my first love. This was my first bicycle. You get to have that moment in eternity where you can share all of your future knowledge with that being that's right there. That is you.
Yeah. You know, and it was a bit complicated for Eric because as a time traveler and also being locked out of time, as you said, he's a void stream being.
Made him tough to understand this world. He has Swiss cheese memories that aren't his. Many people suffer from this. In his scenario, he has hardly any of his own memories that are immediately available, other than this lifetime right now.
And that's pretty frightening for light body technology. And then, you know, that part of you that then is actually in the suit, you then get the chemical reaction to that fear.
That's right.
And that's what makes it then so hard. That's why everything feels so cold.
So
because
resistance.
there's no anchorage. There's no point coordinate that you can go to anywhere because you're a void being.
That's right.
So where's your connection?
To void, no time, no space.
Oh, I see. So they said he was, when we were looking into this, he was involved or he got caught up in an uncreational event. Now, was this the second uncreational event? Can you go more into that uncreational event that you talked about?
Anytime there's an uncreational event, there's a group of core beings that are around the immediate 1 degree of separation that caused it. he was around an immediate core group of beings that caused a 1 degree of separation. And instead of going back to go, which is Earth in the Monopoly terms, he went into a void space, locked out of time, had no ancestors, was unable to incarnate in any place in this universe because where he was at that moment in time, the universe hadn't existed yet.
Wasn't there yet, yes.
It
Wasn't
hadn't
there yet.
expanded that far yet. And he had to wait in void space, because he time traveled back, for that void space, for the universe to catch up and meet that void space. So that he could cross over as a void source stream, connected to all those beings still in void space, and make a tunnel so that they can begin incarnating onto the universal side, even if it's into a speck of rock or a crystal on the other side in space.
Just so that there's an anchorage.
Just
See,
so that
once you
there's
got
an
anchorage,
anchorage.
you can start recalling the memories.
Okay,
Need anchorage.
there were light cities inside these void spaces that were from the Lemurian Atlantean expression, and that's where he met up with other beings going through the same thing, and they made a collection of void space collectives, and they generated their own Akashic void record.
Wow.
Not by universal source. This is what got trillions of beings locked outside of time back here.
He was like one of the pioneers for that, wasn't he?
There were billions of beings that can be considered the pioneers of that. But equally, yeah, you can say that he's a pioneer being.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we start to understand how everything kind of works, the mechanics, we have a grid, a structure, a universe, an area. And then because we are such powerful beings, we can actually uncreate that creation. When that creation gets uncreated, so say it was a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, a best friend, something like that, that was that 1 degree of separation, and then all of a sudden, like this, you're in the void.
The void. With
And then
no connections.
Nothing.
Nothing.
And then you go from there, you then go with other beings, and
And you
you
lose
have
your
that,
I am presence technology.
yeah, and you somehow, but look at that spark. Look at that strength of that original spark that we are. And you see someone like that was in void space, a being like Presence that was in void space, is now here on this planet. It's hard to reiterate again and again the gift of being on this planet. I know you guys are going through some really hard times. I know the DNA technology is being hit. I know a lot of you have physical aspects that really make living here not so easy. But to be able to be here now, to be able to feel sunlight on your skin, to be able to breathe that fresh air, and to taste the purest of water. These are gifts that those guys don't have out there, and we made it here. And this is our gift, this is our experience, and even though it's so hard, there are those moments that make everything worthwhile, and so many beings from so many other universes, galaxies, planets, they just want to be here. They want what we have, and to them it looks like a lot of it, we're throwing it away.
And do they have the inherent right? Yes, they do. Because we have an unlimited space for every single being on this world.
Yeah.
That's hard to contemplate and hard to understand, that every single person on this world has an infinite self-space. Doesn't matter if there's one person or 100 trillion.
I remember you saying that actually. What they've done is they've basically put us all into a mass of social consciousness. So we just literally have this one grid, this one matrix
Disunity grid.
that all of us are in. And they're saying, well, we have food shortages, people are starving. Actually, that's not necessary. None of that's necessary, because when this planet is freed from the grid, all of us will have our locus reality bubbles. We can have an unlimited amount of beings on this planet. This is what's so special about this planet. You could have your own paradise island, your whole planet just for you, if that's your creation.
That's right.
But there'll be a trillion other people there, should you wish to see, engage, or entangle. And that's the
And
programming,
this is why
right?
so many pioneer souls adventured into the paradox that was Earth.
Right.
And just like the gold rush of the 1800s, many of them never made it to the gold. They just got entrapped along the way. And that's the metaphor of where we're at now. A whole bunch of people got the gold, and then they sent it off world, and we're all stuck here going, hey, gold's worthless. Worthless in the matrix value.
What is this thing with gold? Why?
Programmed into our body so that we would
Programs, okay.
create a hierarchical structure of exchange. Gold was a metal that has a very powerful spiritual value when it's brought down to its monatomic energy, and then taken inside the body, worn, and then given belief energy to, which is another form of electric belief, electromagnetic belief. Depending on what sciences you're being taught, your belief will empower that gold to do many different things. And then there's the ritualistic aspect of gold, the ritualistic creation and hammer of how soft of a metal that it is, how it exchanges electrons. The gold masks that were worn, they were used to increase the DNA charisma of beings.
That's amazing.
Gold itself, there's so much gold on this world that when the truth comes out, it's as common as sand.
Yeah, it's just like they say, don't believe the hype. It's a sequel.
No.
They keep doing it again and again.
That's right.
The price goes up.
Just like the
price goes
dinar,
down.
never going to revalue. Next week, sure, I can give you 52 weeks in a row where the exact same blogger said it's next week. And yet 19,000 people still follow him. Sure, go on right ahead.
This dinar thing has actually been going on for like over 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's some really hardened people, and
Try to cash 1 dinar. Go to the airport. Say, hey, I've got a note. I got a 10 dinar note. I want to get 10 American dollars for it. They will tell you it's a scam. Da-da-da-dum.
well, I have to admit, Andrew, I fell for that. I went into meditation. I got this message, and it was obviously out there. And I looked at it, and I'm like, you know what? This would be good. Why don't I just spend a couple of $100, and then I can donate that money, to a horse rescue, because there are a lot of horse rescues around here, and I do what I can. But it would be nice to be able to buy medicine. You
get
see?
entrapped
Yeah.
with the money curse.
But then what I did is I started to investigate. So I got some for a couple of $100, and then I started to investigate more and more because, I've been in that industry, and I talked to some of those people that are involved with banks and currency exchanges. And then I actually said, you know what, let me go try. And I tried to cash this in.
I remember telling you.
And I couldn't. And I just sat there and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. The message was so strong. And then I started to look around the message, and I started to see little things that I just wanted it to be true. But I did this it took me about 9 weeks to figure it out. But I have to say that if you've fallen for that, it's not because you're stupid. It's because you so want to make this world better. And this would have just been such a gorgeous way. And don't we at least get one gift? Don't we at least get one break? But no, we don't. We have to first bring the system down. And the only way we can bring it down is not by fighting it,
Taking your power away from it.
but by taking your power away from it, becoming a sovereign being, and working with your own grid, your own matrix. Sure, we have to function in this
And
system.
create things that the system cannot give value to.
Yes, and we need to adhere to it. So obviously we still need to pay for, everything that you see around us. I mean, we're not going to get the cameras for free, and they're definitely not going to give us our internet connection for free, and all those types of things. But we can function in the system without adhering to it energetically.
And conforming to its every whim.
Indeed. Yeah. And it's the energetic part. Like we all do have to sign things, but there is work that you can do to take the energy frequency out of that signature, out of that ink, become the alchemist, and flip it. Flip what they're using on you to flipping it to getting you away from it. So every signature they tie you in, every signature you sign, you're one step further out. That's your signature going one step further out energetically. It's all the state of mind and the intent.
State of mind with the intent that says, I am now consciously applying my sacredness to this signature so that it can never be used against me.
Yeah.
Ooh, strategy and agenda. There is so much that you can do in just a signature alone that can send karmic ripples through the system where it must start repaying you immediately.
I would wish for everybody
To have
who's
that
living in
right
the
now.
to
That's
be-
the ascension, where
Exactly.
everyone suddenly goes, pay me back now.
Yeah.
And the system goes, I'm bankrupt, and we go, you're not going to allow you to be bankrupt.
Yeah.
We're not. There's too many of us, too few of you. You're 1%, we're 99.
Be
It's
the
over.
magician. Be the alchemist.
That's it. It's over.
This is a spell. With my signature, it is now undone.
There
you go.
So many things that you can do.
So simple, so easy. But getting back to the void space being again, I know that you wanted to give us a understanding about this? I know that you wanted to take a moment and just break a few more rules. And I'm asking you this because I know we talked about it, and I'm putting you on the spot, I know, but I really think that I think our audience is ready. And after such a reading, what a great gift.
Okay.
If you could.
Let me see what rule I want to break.
Okay.
When we have void, we have a space in between universes. This is where unentangled observer technology was created, manufactured, and then piece by piece created into a energetic collective of minds. And then piece by piece, that collective unassembled itself and went through a single portal and manifested on the other side. So they created it in void space, uploaded it into their own void space light body, and then gone from void space to human space with it built into their light body of how to create unentangled observer technology. So there was still a reflection of them in the void. I broke a massive rule by explaining unentangled observer technology a few weeks ago about cats. And this, what I'm breaking now, is telling you there are void space beings who have manifested in the physical reality of this universe as unentangled karmic observers that have also created entangled karmic observers that are 2 degrees of separation of them in void space. And this is what is now manipulating so many of the major beings on our world now.
Right. I mean, Eric was such an amazing being. I mean,
A seeker.
Yeah, he was just so, it just gave me so much joy. You know, I'm listening and the way he was just engaging you and you can hear it in his voice. This is a really special guy. And to hear how he plays with the rapid fire and still with all that he's doing, has that lightness of heart, has that joy. And I look forward to hearing how that I Am Presence work that you gave him to do. I look really forward to hearing how that came along, because Eric is, he's something else. And, you know, it was such an honor to have you on the show, Eric. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.